Okay, so for question 10, again, you should not be trying to do this in your head. You should not be trying to think about what you could take the derivative of to get this mess. There's too much chain rule, too many things to consider. Like, you could probably do it, but even if you could, it would take so long that it's not a good use of your time. So we need to pick a u value, and you're never going to know for sure if you're picking the right u at first, but you got to pick something, and it's typically the thing that's trapped under something. So I'm guessing this stuff under the fifth power is probably going to be my u. You have to write that down. You also have to do the next step too. You need to take the derivative of the left side. The derivative of u would be 1 du. The derivative of this would be negative 3x squared dx. You have to include the dx. If you don't include the dx, if you don't make a habit out of this, then the replacing stuff, you're going to get confused, because you're going to be trying to replace stuff, but you're not going to be sure that everything's accounted for unless you keep up with it. Everything should have a perfect fit. So when I start to rewrite this, all of this can now be called u to the fifth. And I need to change this stuff into u's also. We're changing everything into u's. Well, it's tempting, and a lot of times this is just going to be du, but we can see du is not equal to x squared dx. Du is equal to negative 3x squared dx. So on this question, we need one more line. If this is what I want to replace it with, I have x squared dx, then I can think about what I'm doing to this side algebraically. I'm dividing by negative 3, and you've got to do that to the other side. So if you simply replace this stuff with du, this is not going to work anymore. If you replace it with negative 1/3 du, then you just took into account chain rule, which is good. Okay, so we should be left with something that is very manageable. Raise the power by 1, divide by the new power. Don't forget your plus c. The only time you don't need the plus c is if it's a definite integral and we have bounds, but we got to do something different on those. So we get negative 1/18 u to the 6th plus c. And again, your answer shouldn't have u's in it. U is a technique to help you do this, but it's not part of your answer. So in the end, instead of saying u to the 6th, you need to plug this back in. Now, while this book assignment's long enough that you're not going to want to do this all the time, but if you don't do it sometimes, then you're not going to think about it or be ready to do it on an assessment when you have less time. So I believe this to be my answer, but we know integration is supposed to be the inverse of derivatives. So I'm going to take the derivative of this. Bring the power down, lower the power by 1, take the derivative of the inside because of chain rule, and the derivative of the constant is 0. And if I reduce this times negative 3, divide by negative 3, those would be canceled. So I should have an x squared and a 6 minus x cubed to the 5th. So now I am sure this is correct. So again, I realize you're not going to do that on every question, but please do it on a couple. It's good practice for you guys to do derivatives since we do less of that this semester, and of course that's going to be close to half of your AP exam. And you can see it doesn't take very long. And it's a good reminder for yourself to reinforce that chain rule since it doesn't come up every question like it used to. Okay, anything that jumps out at you about question 10 that you want to ask?